Hi everybody, my name is Brian Chang and I'm the R&D Manager for Sourdough and Grains for Puratos. Today I'm going to share with you two things. One is what happens during a sourdough starter fermentation, and number two is what can you do to make your starter unique to yourself. So the first thing, what's actually happening in your sourdough fermentation? There's actually two key superheroes that's doing all the magic. The first one is the lactic acid bacteria. And what the lactic acid bacteria does is it creates lactic acid during the fermentation, and that's what gives your sourdough the sour taste. The second one is the wild yeast. The wild yeast is actually doing two things. The wild yeast, the first one is what helps your sourdough to rise, and it's also what helps your bread to leaven when you use your sourdough starter. The second thing is the wild yeast actually consumes the protein in your sourdough starter and actually creates the different types of aromatic flavors that you get from your sourdough starter. Next, what can we do to make your sourdough starter unique to yourself? Well, there's actually three things. Number one is the flour that you're using. Number two is the ratio between your flour and your water, so it's the hydration of your sourdough starter. And number three is the temperature that you're fermenting your sourdough in. So the first one, depending on what flour you use, whether it's regular white wheat flour, whole wheat flour, or rye flour, it will give you a different flavor profile. So this is my sourdough. This is Penny. Penny is 1 year old, and it's a rye sourdough. I refresh it with rye flour. So a rye flour will actually give you a more fruity note and also a higher sour taste to it. If you're using a white wheat flour, you're actually going to have a milder sour and a little bit of a creamy note to your sourdough. Now, if you use a whole wheat flour, you'll get a little bit more of the earthy notes, and that's mainly coming from the bran and the germ in your whole wheat flour. So the second thing I talked about is the hydration. If your starter is more of a liquid starter, you'll get more of a vinegarish, acidic, sour taste to your sourdough. Whereas if you have more of a solid sourdough, where it's stiffer, you'll get more of the lactic sour taste that typically you find in yogurts and things like that. Lastly is the temperature that you ferment your sourdough starter. Depending if you want a more vinegarish sourdough or if you want more of a lactic sourdough, you can play with the temperature to get those flavors. If you want more of a vinegarish San Francisco style sourdough taste, then I would recommend fermenting your sourdough at between 65 to 77 degrees. And if you want more of a lactic sour, I would recommend fermenting your sourdough between 85 to 95 degrees. Just playing with these two parameters, you get a completely different flavor profile for your sourdough starter. There's no right or wrong answer to making a sourdough. You can play with different types of parameters and to make it unique. But there's one place where you can check out about different types of unique sourdoughs around the world, and that is the Quest for Sourdough website. I recommend you to make your sourdough, go onto the website, register your sourdough, and also check out the different unique sourdoughs that's around the world. Also, we would love to hear more about your sourdough. When you post it on Instagram, make sure to use the hashtag sourdough difference because every tag that you have, we'll be donating $1 to the Ronald McDonald House.